I know I haven't uploaded in like half a decade, but I've been busy with examinations and I also had a game making assignment during my internals. More about that later. Nevertheless, here I am with the final devlog of this.
GMTK Game Jam 2024.
If you remember what I said in the first video, as you may remember all the crap that I yapped about. I've not yet hooked up the upgrades with the system that I've made, but I can make that pretty easily.
It was at this moment he knew. He f***ed up.
Yeah, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. Let me explain. Basically, I tried to refactor the code to make it more readable and to limit what is happening to where it is supposed to happen logically. For instance, the upgrade script needs to have everything related to the blob of crap that spawns after each level. On collision with an object, it checks whether the collided object is of the tag player or not, and then executes a bunch of functions. This caused a shitload of problems. Number 1. The character scaling function completely stopped working. The increase player size function was initially on the player himself, but I had to call it whenever the player collided with the upgrade object, which felt really weird. So I tried to move this into the upgrade spec because that felt more refined, but it completely refused to work there. Number 2. Now this is a much bigger problem, so let me give some background information first. I have an upgrade script to handle the scaling of the character and also increase the level when it collides with player. Then I have a logic manager that handles the level logic like increase score and spawning upgrades. The score limit is an array of integers that cycles through as the score increases. Consider the score limit array is 3, 10, 15. Let's start from level equals 0. According to my first logic, if score is greater than score limit of level, increase the level and spawn an upgrade. Simple, right? Right? Here's the issue. Consider that I reached score 3, but I didn't take the upgrade. The level didn't increment because the level increment is present on the upgrade itself. I reached score 10, so the second upgrade also spawned in the same place. Now if I take the upgrade, I will directly reach level 2. At the time of making this video, I knew what the problem was and I fixed it. But at that time, I had no idea what the heck was happening. I was depressed. I was physically and emotionally damaged. I had no strength left in my body. And then I slept. The next day, I woke up with a burning desire to fix my life and my game. Then, after an hour and a half of drawing diagrams and writing down the logic, I figured it out. It was a simple fix. I just had to add a new variable I to keep track of how many upgrades spawned. If the score reached the next level but I hasn't updated, the upgrade won't spawn. The level is a separate variable that increments only when the upgrade is taken. Since the character scaling function was not working on the upgrade script, I had to revert it back onto the character script or player script, whatever you want to call it. I also added linear interpolation or LERP to make the scaling smoother. Now that all the major bugs were fixed, I could work on the models and the environments. First off, I started by creating a few models in Blender using reference images I found. Then I just slapped the images onto the model to make it look like a weapon. Really basic UV unwrapping. These are the results. I wanted to add separate guns for each upgrade so that the characters would feel their power scale as the game goes on. These are what I came up with. I was almost dead by the end of the third day, so I decided to wake up afresh and get the job done. The next day, I geared up for the final stretch of the jam. To switch the guns, I created an array of game objects and cycled through them according to the level number. The gun code I wrote also allowed me to control the firing rate of the gun, so I was easily able to make the guns feel different from each other. I added the guns to the array to make sure they were switching as intended. Then I added a bit of UI like the score and the level. I also added UI onto the upgrade station so that its location is on the screen all the time. The next step was to add the pause menu. Finally, it was time. It was time to name the game. I channeled all my inner energy. I used up every single brain cell to come up with Mr. Big. I know it isn't the most creative of names, but you don't know the mental state I was in. I found a city package online that helped me make a city. I added the open fracture scripts to the models of the city and the buildings, and the game started to feel much, much better than it was before. I added a bit of fog, and the city was looking pretty neat. I made the game banner inspired by the Tom Hanks movie Big because why not? So I finally got there in the end. The game was done. I was done. I could finally submit the game and rest. But before I did that, I gave the game to some of my friends to play, and their feedback was interesting. They thought the destruction was great, the guns were varied, and it was chaotic. But none of them actually enjoyed playing the game. They only played it because I asked them to. So instead of being depressed, I dove deep into what made the game boring. The first thing I realized was that the game had no motivation. It lacked a soul, not a story, but a soul. My fundamental game design philosophy was flawed from the beginning. Since the start, I was focused on what to make, but never thought of why to make it. This gave me a whole new perspective on how good games are made. Game making is not about knowing everything. It's not about the design, the graphics, or the code. It's about the soul and the core of the game. It's about how you, as a developer, are able to connect with the audience. It's about the experience, not the mechanics. With such a rich and frankly philosophical perspective on game development, I submitted the game, just a little bit wiser than before. My game wouldn't break any new ground or anything, but now I had the confidence that I could make a game that could inspire, a game that people could enjoy, a game that connects with the audience. And this is where I sign off. Thank you all for your support and feedback throughout this journey. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experience in the comments below. Until then, have a great day.